Hello, this is your roving reporter Barbara Ann Rosenberg, and I'm going to give you some travel and table tips as we go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, that town that is absolutely like being live in a stage set, only the place is real. It's all built on the lines of a pueblo, and yet you're in a very modern city with a lot of wonderful things, including great restaurants. There's the Coyote Cafe with that quintessential chef Mark Miller and his right-hand genius Mark Kiffin, and there's Loretta Odom, who has researched Indian foods all over the country, including right here in Philadelphia, and you'll hear more about those later, but not in this program. And the Inn at Anasazi, which is a recreation, again, of one of these old buildings, and we'll have a talk with the chef there. I think you're going to have a good time. We had a very good time when we were there, and you'll get the feeling as you traipse around getting the travel and table tips in Santa Fe. This is called the Portal Program, meaning under the porch at the Palace of the Governors, the oldest structure in America, public structure, 1610, where the governor lived when the Spanish came to New Mexico. The royal palace built by order of the Spanish crown, 1610, 1612. And here are people supported to some extent by the museum that is in the palace, and they are allowed only to sell things that are made in their own homes and of silver and very infrequently gold, but turquoise and clay. And they all have their own marks on them, and it's all absolutely natural, and you can be assured of what you're buying when you buy here. I'm standing now at the Inn at the Alameda in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's so typically, you'd think you were in one of the old pueblos, but of course you're not. You can see the beauty of the architecture here. Nevertheless, it's true to the kind of architecture that they have in the old pueblos. Let me just walk over here for a minute so you can get an idea of the ambiance of the whole place, and then we'll go in for breakfast in just a minute. Isn't this lovely? It's just as southwestern as can be without being too cutesy. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place. Now we're standing outside the Inn at Alameda, and you can see the architecture here. It's built just like one of the old pueblos. The whole place is absolutely intrinsic to the area, and it's a wonderful place to stay if you ever get out here. In case you're out here during the winter, you see they keep a lovely fire in this very southwestern fireplace. The whole place is, I think, just a fairyland. Walk with me into the breakfast room here in just a minute, and you'll see what the goodies are that come as part of the breakfast with your room. Now we'll enjoy some breakfast, and I'm going to have one of these filled things that I don't know what they call them, but it isn't a terribly Indian breakfast, but it's very good. You want to come over here and talk to me? Here's a gentleman from the San Juan Pueblo, but he works here at the Inn at Alameda. How long have you been here?
I've been here for about 5 years now.
Yeah, want to take off your hat so that we can see your face because there's too much shade there. Anyway, tell us your name again.
Aaron Tenorio.
Aaron Tenorio. What's the language of your pueblo?
It's Tewa.
And did you go to school to learn Tewa there?
Yeah. They just talk to us from there. We just learn from there, from our families.
From your families. And then did you go to school to speak English, or did you learn that?
We just learn both.
You just learned both.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to talk to you, Aaron. Some more of the goodies. That perfectly beautiful cheeses and home-baked goods and all kinds of things. I'm sure you'd enjoy. Standing here at the Inn of Anasazi, is that the way you pronounce it?
That's correct.
With Chef Zimmer, Peter Zimmer, who has just returned from the James Beard House where he cooked, I understand, a spectacular dinner, and we've just had a spectacular lunch. And how long have you been chef here at the inn, and how old is the inn?
The inn is 3.5 years old. It's going into its 4th year, and I've been down here for 5 years now. It took about almost 12 months to do development and research just in the area and the indigenous products and people and their culture.
And do you use many of the local products?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have presently 4 pueblos growing a lot of our plant-based products and staples from the Native Americans, the chicos, pozoles, and meals and masas, and then some of their other vegetation.
Really, the pozole is dried corn for those people from the east who don't understand that. I think we're going to walk over here and look at this painting, which is, you said, was done by a local artist, shall we?
That's correct. Niman has the Niman Galleries. He's very, very talented, but he does some very spiritual and healing paintings with the corn women to the far left of the painting, and some of the other sons, and some of the Kachina dolls as well in the paintings as well. So it's very interesting stuff.
Very typically Southwestern, and really as different as can be from what we see in Philadelphia, but your food would be appreciated anywhere. Absolutely. Come and visit us in Philadelphia.
Well, that would be an honor, and that's a wonderful compliment. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you there. As we come up the steps into the Coyote Cafe, one of the most famous restaurants in all of the United States, owned by Mark Miller with Chef Mark Kiffin. Maybe we'll get a chance to meet him afterward. We see this wonderful band from Oaxaca, the Dia del Muerte. It's always a celebration there. It means the Day of the Dead or Halloween or All Souls Night. It just gives you an idea. It's not Mexican here. It is New Mexican. It is funky. It is fun. And we'll walk around the restaurant. You can get a flavor of it. The food, you have to come for yourself. The food is marvelous. And when I said the food is marvelous, here are the guys who are preparing it. Starting out, these are the people on the line, the ones who are responsible for doing it every day. And you can see what a handsome design this place is. Look at up above. Is that a cut? Get an idea of the whimsy of the place with the variety of animals overseeing the dining. Even a coyote howling up there. Very contemporary design, very New Mexico in concept. And the food is absolutely, I can't get over raving about it because it's New Mexico. It's got all the styles with Mark Miller and Mark Kiffin's own touches on it. Overseeing the action throughout the restaurant is a magnificent painting by Emil Beestrom. It was painted in 1932. He died in the 1970s. It's $150,000, so I'm having a little liquid nourishment kind of to steady me when I start thinking about $150,000. If you want to buy it, of course, it's here to be bought. Okay, Mark. This is Mark Kiffin, executive chef par excellence at the, not at all. He's been in Philadelphia for the Book and the Cook, and he'll be there again this year in
the Rittenhouse.
At the Rittenhouse. How many days, do you know?
Well, it's just the one day. I do the last event on Sunday. I'm their grand finale at the end.
And what a grand finale it is. I was there last year, and he makes well, for me, the absolute wonder was a roast chicken hash with chipotle hollandaise sauce. Absolutely marvelous. Now, but here, there's a great variety of New Mexican food, and as we said, in a New Mexico atmosphere. Where else do you have restaurants?
We have our Washington property, which is Red Sage in Washington, D.C. on 14th and F, catty corner of the Willard, 2 blocks off the Capitol. We've been open there for coming up on 3 years. And we've just newly opened, well, it's actually been almost a year now, our Las Vegas property, which is in the Coyote Cafe at the MGM Grand.
You're going to be opening other restaurants of this kind?
Yeah, we're working on it. Actually, the Coyote division will always stay in the Southwest. We'll always be in this area, whether it's Arizona, New Mexico, Denver, Texas, in that area, where Washington, D.C. and the East Coast will always handle the Red Sage operations.
You're not going to send coyotes to the East Coast. They don't survive there so well. Okay.
This concept works with the food and what we have to have. It's better to stay indigenous to this area.
Well, that's right. The food is sensational.
We got to be real.
We're going to walk out and look at the other coyote emblem that you
we have out there, right? One of our signature pieces. We have a lot of fun with it.
Let's go take a look and end this lovely time together. Mark, I look forward to seeing you again.
You'll see me in March.
I'll see
in
you
Philadelphia.
In March, and we'll do another little swimming. Okay, now this is a signature piece of artwork. The coyotes are moving. They're keeping moving just like this restaurant. This is the rooftop cantina that's open in the summer. Getting a little chilly now, right?
It's a little windy now. It's October. We're getting ready for snow here in Santa Fe.
Last I looked, it was November.
Sorry, November. See, Fred Prescott designed this piece, and we always tell people that depending on how many cocktails they had, depending on how many margaritas they've had, or how often these pieces move. So it's fun. We have a lot of fun with it. It's a great piece.
Loretta
Barrett Odin.
Odin. We're here in Santa Fe in the Corn Dance Cafe, which is owned by this beautiful lady.
Thank you.
Who said she has opened this to find something to do with It's Impossible to Believe, the second half of her life, the second 50 years of her life, really.
Yes.
And that she did ranching and so forth before this. But now tell us a little bit about the Corn Dance Cafe and your inspiration for it.
Yes. The Corn Dance Cafe is really my way of honoring the women of my family. I'm Potawatomi from Oklahoma, and our tribe is originally from the northern woodlands, from around the Lake Michigan area, the Great Lakes area. And I grew up in the kitchens of my grandma, my mom, and my aunts, cooking the wonderful foods that we gathered and grew at home in Oklahoma. And I thought, gosh, you know, how wonderful it would be to find some way of honoring the women of the Americas who have been growing and gathering and cooking these foods for thousands of years.
But how did you come to Santa Fe?
Oh, well, Santa Fe seemed like such a natural. People come from all over the world to Santa Fe for a Native American experience.
And you're giving it to them right here in this restaurant?
Yes, absolutely. We're really trying to present cuisines from tribes, the tribes of the Americas, the food of the original people of the Americas.
But not just here in Southwest, in New Mexico, for example.
No.
It's all over. I noticed the menu seems to be pretty diverse. Tell me about the things that are local here to New Mexico, though, the New Mexico tribes.
Oh, there are wonderful cuisines from the Pueblo people of this region, most especially corn, beans, and squash, because these people have lived on this land for, hundreds, maybe 1,000 years. And the corn, beans, and squash that they grow, the melons, we do some wonderful dishes with some of the old heirloom beans, gorgeous Appaloosa beans and Anasazi beans, different reds and blue corns. The foods of this region, of course, the chilies. You have to include the chilies.
I'm going to have some chilies for dinner tonight. May
Yes.
I do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we're going to recommend some wonderful things for us to have, and then we'll do some video when we get to see what we're eating.
Okay, wonderful.
Great. Thanks
Enjoy.
so much. Now we're looking at some of this wonderful food, some of the venison, the local venison, and buffalo turned into sausage. And well, it looks like a pizza, but I don't think it really is. along with some of the beautiful little corn and gourds that come from this part of the country. We're just entering the International Museum of Folk Art, which is one of the New Mexico funded, the state-funded museums. And this is thousands and thousands of pieces of folk art from all over the world, collected by a man by the name of Gerard, who donated it, and the state built a special wing of the museum to house it. I think you'll enjoy some of the things that you're going to see. This is Peruvian folk art, and you can see every single thing embroidered by hand. Very beautiful. They're called Garibaldis in honor of the man who was exiled from Italy and came to Peru, and wonderful tradition of folk art in that country. Here we have weavings by Navajo mothers whose sons were in the service of the United States. These are woven like rugs, but they displayed them in their homes, and this is what they knew how to do. Some of them only have 9 stars. They take liberties. Some of them are not quite stars, but they're very beautiful and rather unique. Folk art from Poland, from Krakow. And they have competitions every year to see who makes the most authentic cathedral. And then, of course, they have all of the figures doing what people do, dancing at the festival, playing music, nuns, sisters, villagers, and just city people with their hats. So here you have an entirely different view of what folk art is. This is city folk art. Or to the folk art of Poland is folk art of India, from Rajasthan, from a desert state of India, where they make these puppets, and this gentleman bought enough, so he created an entire scene with people dressed the way they did in the olden days in India. Here's the Olympia in the Philippines. Now we have it on the river right out at the foot of, Walnut Street or something in Philadelphia. And in the foreground of this is an exhibit of Mexican art from a little village just outside of Oaxaca, where they do this unglazed pottery, very intricate virgins. They're just beautiful, beautiful work. This is the Hispanic wing, Family and Faith, it's called. And these are all examples throughout the Spanish-speaking world. The Hispanic Heritage Wing, it was dedicated in 1989 and has examples from all over the Spanish-speaking world. I'm wrong. It was not all over the Spanish-speaking world. It's all just Spanish New Mexico. And this is folk art of Spanish New Mexico, and a rich folk art it is. And we've moved from New Mexico to Thailand, where you see a typical, beautiful spirit house with some evidence of the Thai boxing and dancing. That's it, just so universal all over the world. Standing at the edge of the Santa Clara Indian Reservation in northern New Mexico, this very startling, very stark, beautiful, beautiful scenery. This is outside of Santa Fe. We're on our way to Chimayo and to Taos, and we'll come back to Santa Fe so you can get an idea of what the whole area looks like. We're in the shop of Senor John Trujillo, a descendant of one of the earliest Spanish settlers in this part of northern New Mexico. And he's a weaver, as you can plainly see. One of his rugs is in the museum in Pittsburgh, and he said someone was here about a week ago talking to him about making a rug for Philadelphia Museum. Now this is a traditional Chimayo design, which is very, can you come around here, do you think? It's, the Chimayo design is, what did you call it?
Well, it was designed here in Chimayo around 1806, because the original pattern were only stripes with natural wools.
Reyes.
Now, these are dyed wools. They come direct from the spinning mills where they spin and they dye. Yeah.
Very how many of these can you make in a year?
I don't keep track because we weave so many I go to different sizes. But this being the widest loom that we have, I weave one about every 8 days. It's a 54 by 84. It's the largest size that we weave, and it happens to be a floor rug. And this is the same type of a loom that was brought over here since early 1600.
Well, that's interesting. There are another couple of weavers at work here now, and several others. They can't stand 8 hours a day, only perhaps 4 at a time, and then it becomes too exhausting. So I thought you'd like to see what authentic weaving is like in this part of the country at this time in 1994. It's still done by hand and just beautiful. We're at Rancho de Chimayo, Chimayo, with an accent, making the accent on the last syllable, which does the traditional cooking of New Mexico, spicy meatball. But here we are with these ristras, as they're called, the strings of chilies, and those are what are ground up to make the picante taste, the hot taste, and very delicious food. This is El Santuario, the sanctuary, the main church in Chimayo. And it's particularly, as a matter of fact, it's on the historic register of the Department of Interior. And the reason that it is considered, a miracle is considered to have happened here. And in the back room, there is still a place where people dig for the earth that is reported to have miraculous powers, healing powers, for people with specific diseases. And it's a beautiful little church. It was built in 1815 on the site of one, and in the same exact style of one that was much, much older, that was here when the Spanish initially came to Chimayo. The interior is perfectly beautiful with traditional New Mexico designs at the altar. Several of them. It's just gorgeous. All of the woodwork and the santos that are around on the stations of the cross. Everything just beautiful. Very primitive, but very gorgeous. This is the room where the miracle is supposed to have taken place, is reported to have taken place. I'm going to dig some of the holy earth to take back to Philadelphia, just a spoonful, which is what's left here for us to dig with. And it's a very impressive sight. Here are the crutches and other things that people have left behind in memory or in honor of cures that they have received when they were here. It's kind of like Lourdes or Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré. Many people come to Chimayo. I had never heard of it before, but it is spectacular. On this brilliant afternoon, we've come through the mountains where we came through all kinds of clouds and a little bit of rain. We're now on the road at 7,000 feet to the Taos Pueblo, the most traditional and one of the oldest of the pueblos in this part of the world, or maybe in all of New Mexico. In any event, it's gorgeous here, as you can see the backdrop of the mountains, the clouds, and I'm sure the Pueblo will not be disappointing. Yes, sir. You want to tell me your...
I'm John B. Archuleta from Taos Pueblo.
And he's on the governor's staff. The Pueblo is about to close. You can see we're at the very end of the day. It's very gorgeous here. The light is so brilliant. Is it always like this?
It's always like this, man. Especially during the summertime when the sun is setting there, everybody enjoys it.
Oh, it's not quite summer. It's November now, but we're still enjoying it as well.
Oh, yes. The falls it's nice for being autumn.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to just take a quick peek at what's going on in there, okay? Thank you. As you can see, this is a very traditional pueblo. The cars are coming by. It's getting toward the end of the day. Very traditional, all these adobe buildings. Really just very simple, plain. It's like the new buildings are being built in this style now. But this is what it's all tailored from. Here are some young ladies from the Taos Pueblo, and you want to tell me your names?
Brianna.
Right, Anna.
Tashina Martinez. Sunshine Concha.
Well, these are three very lovely gals. You go to school in the Pueblo?
Yeah, above. At the Taos State School. The Taos State School.
What is the Taos State School?
It's a school where they teach us our private school. Native language.
Oh, yes? What language do you speak?
Tiwa.
Tiwa. Want to say something for me in Tiwa? Say hi, how are you? Or hello, how are you?
Okay, thank you is Ta'a.
Ta'a?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm learning Tiwa? Is that-
Uh-huh.
And what tribe are you?
Taos Pueblo. Uh-huh.
Taos Pueblo?
Uh-huh.
That's great. Thank you so much. You're going to be on cable channel 66 in Philadelphia. Part of New Mexico known as Santa Fe. If that doesn't tempt you to go out and try the high plateau, the high valley of that part of the country, I don't know what will. It's simply gorgeous. The sunsets are not to be believed, and the light across the desert is simply breathtaking. See you later for more travel and table tips from Barbara Ann Rosenberg.